In order to install the file renamer application, it's installed from the directory where much of our other software is also installed from. So go to the T drive, Computing, Applications, and then look for the file renamer directory, and then double click on setup.exe. Run. And mine has installed immediately, but that's because I have previously installed the application. Often when you install an application for the first time, a window will pop up saying that there's a potential security risk, and then you need to click on more info and then run anyway in order for the program to install. I have set up a directory on my computer which contains some data, plus also 4 files which specify copying and renaming. So first of all, what we'll do is that we'll look at the structure of one of those files. So we'll look at copying 1, which is an Excel file which I've made. I've named the file copying 1. It doesn't have to be called copying 1 because it's copying. I've just called it that for my own convenience. So the first 2 lines of a copying file will be the from directory and the to directory, where you're copying it from and where you're copying it to. So I'm copying from D documents testing file renamer, which matches up with D documents testing file renamer, the directory we can see in the background there. And I'm going to copy it to the directory D documents testing file renamer copy. And you'll notice that there currently is no copy directory in there, but that will be made as part of the copying process. And then after those first 2 lines, what you do is you specify what you want to copy. So I want to copy the directory data, and I also would like to copy a file called test.txt, which actually doesn't exist. I've just put that in there to show you what will happen when you put in an incorrect file. So we close that and go to the file renamer. I want to copy, and the file which specifies the copying I want to do is the one we just looked at, copying1.xlsx. So you see it makes a log file, and then it's made this directory copy, which was where we told it to copy to. So if I look inside the directory copy, I can see the directory data, which we told it to copy. If I look at the log file says that it's a file copying log. It says the file copying log, the version of the program we used, who did it, that was me, the time that it started, and then it says the details of what I'm copying are specified in copying1.xlsx. And first of all, it's creating the directory copy, and then inside that it's creating the directory data, copying all the files which are in data, which we haven't seen as yet, and all of the other things which are in that data directory is just telling you that it's copying them all. And then when it gets to the end, it says I cannot copy test.txt because that file or directory does not exist, which we knew it didn't. We just put it there to show you what happens if you try and copy something that doesn't exist and you get an error message. Okay, so let's have a look at the renaming specification. So the renaming specification looks quite similar in that it starts off with a from directory, and we're going to renaming in the directory D documents testing file renamer data. And what we're going to do is we're going to rename these 4 files. We're going to rename the file 1.txt to become apple.txt, 2.txt will become avocado.txt, 3.txt will become babico.txt, and 4.txt will become cabbage.txt. The directory D1 will become sources, D2 will become growing conditions, and D3 will become recipes. So if we have a look inside the directory data, we see that it has those files 1.txt to 4.txt and directories D1, D2, and again D3 is not there, but I'm just showing you a potential error. So if we just close that specification, we choose rename, and using renaming 1, so you see now it's rename the files in this data directory, and if I go back to the file renamer directory, I can see now that I have a log file for renaming, which again looks very similar to the log file we had for the other, and it's just saying renaming file from and renaming it to. And these are actually tab separated, so you could open these in Excel if you'd like to have them in columns. And at the end again we have an error, cannot rename D3 because the file or directory does not exist. Okay, so we'll have a look at another renaming. So this time what we're doing is that we are renaming it from the directory file renamer.data, and then I have a to directory. So I'm going to rename the directory, rename the files into another directory called fruit, which we don't currently have. So apple.txt is going to go into apple.txt, but inside the fruit directory. Avocado.txt is going to go into avocado.txt in the fruit directory, etc. And then you notice that I have from directory and to directory again. So I'm going to, the from directory is data, and the to directory is going inside vegetables. And so the recipes folder, which doesn't actually exist, is supposed to be moved into vegetables, and cabbage.txt will be moved into vegetables as well. So basically you see with this that you can have as many groups of specification as you like. So here I have two lots of different renamings. I'm renaming these things here by moving them into the fruit directory, and I'm renaming these here by moving them into the vegetable directory. And I could have had many more specifications here telling other things to be renamed or moved elsewhere. So what this is demonstrating is two things. One is that you can have multiple specifications in the same file, and two is that renaming can either mean a change of file name, as we saw in the first renaming that I did, or in this case renaming can mean just moving it somewhere else. Often what happens is that when you have a directory, there may be many files in that directory, and actually there's only a couple which you're interested in, and you really want to move them somewhere else. And that's what this tool enables you to do. In some of the programs which we run, directories can end up with thousands of files in them, and they're very difficult to navigate, and this enables you to effectively choose the ones which you're really interested in and move them somewhere else and make them easier to access. So if I just run that, so again we end up with a log file, and we'll just have a quick look. And again it's just basically telling you what renaming it's doing, and then it's going to tell you that there's an error because the recipes folder does not exist, recipes directory did not exist, and it's pretty much the same format as we've already seen. If we have a look inside data now, we see now we have fruit and vegetables. All the things which were in here have now been moved into either the fruit directory or into the vegetables directory. So one thing to notice about both renaming and copying is that what we are renaming and copying is completely specified within the files. And by that what I mean is you don't have to rename and copy everything within a directory. you can choose to rename only one or all of the files. It's up to you as to how many you rename. And similarly with the directories which are contained within the folder that you specify, you can choose to rename one or all of them. It's completely up to you. And similarly with copying, you don't have to copy everything. You can choose to only copy specific files, and you specify that within the file that we've looked at 3 of. Another tool which you may wish to look at in conjunction with this, especially if you do have lots of files in a folder, is the tool called directory contents. So if we go back to the T drive, T computing applications, it's called get directory contents. My apologies. Double click to install it. It's very simple. It's simple again, just one button, get directory contents. You then go and choose the directory that you wish to get contents of. So if I go D, we'll choose the same directory we've been looking at all along, D documents, testing, file renamer, data, that's what we've been looking at. And then it asks you where you'd like to save the contents. I'll just call it contents, and this is just a text file. So if I have a look at contents.txt, basically it just says that we have a directory inside there called fruit, which has apple, avocado and barbacoa. Inside the directory called sources, we have these other files which we didn't actually look at, but which were there to show you that when we copied a whole lot of stuff, not just when we copied the directory, we copied everything. And so it shows you all of the contents of all the directories, and here's our directory vegetables with just cabbage.txt. So if you wanted to get the list of files in a directory in order to rename them all, you could use this tool to get the file names, and then you could use the file renamer tool to rename the files that you chose. Obviously it may be better if these two tools were combined. If you find that when you're using the tools that you would rather them be combined, or you'd rather some different features, just let me know. Thank you.